Alright, what is up, guys? It is Aaron from iLikeGear.com, and today we are going to be doing a hunt review on Arrowhead Outfitters. And specifically, we are going to be talking about a Northern Brooks Range caribou hunt that we recently went on. In this review, we're going to be talking about the outfitter, some of the third-party services, how the hunt went. We'll show you what we harvested, and then we will give you our honest and 100% unbiased opinion on all of it. So here we go. If you want to look up this outfitter, it is arrowheadoutfitters.com. Once you get to the homepage, just scroll down, and this is what we're going to be specifically talking about. It was our caribou hunt in the Northern Brooks Range. And then it's going to give you some details on the hunt. We're not going to go over this because we are going to cover this how we saw it and how it worked for us in detail after this. And then as you can see, they boast the 93 to 97% success rates over the past 5 years. We're going to talk about that a little bit and also what we think about it in just a second. But first, let's get to the basics. The hunt dates in Alaska for this area in Alaska caribou is August 1st through the 31st. This is a self-guided caribou hunt. What Arrowhead does for you is flies you in. And the price for 2023 is $3,995 per hunter. And then they are saying that in 2024, the price is $4,495. When we were there, they claimed that they are getting booked up quickly, and that is why they are justifying the price increase. We will just have to see in 2024 if they stick to that or if the price stays the same. Obviously, we have no special insight into any of that. If you want to bring a friend and they're not hunting, you can pay $2,500, and basically that would just be for the fly-in service itself. They do have a camp equipment rental, which we are going to talk about a little bit in a second, and then the duration. So 7 to 10 days hunts, no additional charge for added days. Once they fly you in and they drop you off at your lake, you're pretty much on your own. So I can't imagine that it would matter how many days you book. What we would say is make sure you have at least 7 days, and we're going to be talking about that a little bit as we get going. But the 10 days is what we did and harvested on the 8th day. So it is a good thing that we booked all those. Plus weather and a whole bunch of things that we're going to discuss can make that duration much smaller than you actually have. So that's the basics. Obviously, you have to get all the fees, the licenses, the gear. They don't cover any of that. And then they cover in here, they just talk about a little bit about what we're going to talk about more in depth. There are no hidden trophy fees. You can harvest whatever you want. It doesn't matter. And this is 100% self-guided. So essentially, they are just going to drop you off at a lake that they deem you have no input into that lake and can't, request or ask where you're going. The pilots do not care. They're going to take you where they think is the best. So if you want to get more information on this outside of our review, what I would suggest is going to Facebook and then go to the Arrowhead Outfitters LLC group. Just look that up. This is an excellent group that they have set up, and it really helped with our preparation for this hunt, and specifically find one nice lady named Misty. So Misty is going to be the person that you're going to be dealing with over the phone and pre-booking. We have booked a lot of outfitted hunts, and I'm not kidding. Misty is the best that we have dealt with pre-hunt. Too bad she can't come on the hunt with you because it would be great to have her there as well. She has all the information that you need. So Misty is going to be your go-to. She's very prompt. She always answers the phone or calls you right back. So if you're not in that group, make sure you join. You can read all of the things that were here from the 2022 season, and there's a lot of good info in there. What we are going to be making this review on is the stuff that everybody debates in here, and we're going to explain why it's highly debated, and try to cover the things that were not covered in this group. So before we do that, a little bit about what we do. We do reviews for hunts and for gear. If you wanted to try to win this hunt, basically it's 100 seats for $55, and you will get on this hunt. There's no better odds than what we provide here, and we do this for hunts as well as gear. So if you were, let's say you wanted to, try to win something for the hunt, you're missing a tent, you're missing whatever it is that you can imagine, down jacket, you're missing base layers, it doesn't matter. We do reviews in which we cover the gear that we are reviewing, and then with that you get entered into a 1 in 20 chance to receive the item. So essentially you could win a, let's say, super down pant from Kuyu for 26 bucks. And again, it's 1 in 20, so the odds they don't get any better, but you get that review as well as you get entered to win. So that is what we do. And again, we are 100% unbiased. You cannot pay us to come on a hunt. You can't pay us to review your stuff. Basically, we just cover what we think is the top and then give you our 100% honest and sponsor free opinion on it. So, to begin, you should contact them the exact same way we did, in that you go to arrowheadoutfitters.com, click contact us, and it's going to bring you down to an email or a phone. Once again, I would suggest just giving this phone a ring, as Misty will be the one answering it, and then she will be able to guide you from there. Once you are set up and you decide on the dates that you would like to hunt, once again, we suggest 10 days, and whatever she's got available, that is what you will need to do, unless you're booking out early, and then you will have the advantage of picking your days. Once you do, you're going to get an invoice that looks something like this. So to go into this a little bit in depth, you got your fly-in, round trip, self-guided Caribou hunt in the Northern Brooks Range, North Slope, Alaska. 100% true, that is where it was at, and as you can see, the price is exactly as they said it is, $3,995. Our hunt date was from 7 to the 17th, so pretty early, and we dealt with a lot of mosquitoes and some weather changes, and we'll talk about that coming soon. The things that you do not need to pay is the two-man camp deposit. That is 100% optional and up to you. Basically, what it is they have some gear that they have available to you if you do not want to fly with it. The best thing in that two-man camp is 100% their tent. It is that Alaskan Guide, which weighs about 33 pounds. But if we didn't have that, we would have been in trouble, and you're going to see that coming soon. So that was well worth it for us. It was a $200 each, so $400 total. And then, or I'm sorry, that's just a deposit. And then the gear rental. So you do get your $200 back. The gear rental is what I'm discussing. That is $400. So there were two of us, $800 total for that. And it does seem expensive, but it was well worth it to not have to try to fly with all that stuff. We really didn't use a whole lot other than the tent as well as the cots, but those both were lifesavers while we were out there. And honestly, there's no better tent for this trip, I would say, than that Alaska Guide. And then you have to pay the fee for your credit card. Misty will talk to you about other ways that you can pay if you want to try to dodge that. Now, what you see here is a $1,200 Arctic Compass third-party transport service. This is 100% optional. It does not get paid to Arrowhead. Basically, we were having trouble with most people use U-Haul or they try to rent a vehicle. At the time of this video, they were supposedly cracking down on the U-Haul rentals to go on the haul road. There is a company now called Arctic Compass, and they will take you there for $600 each way. So $600 there, $600 back. And again, it does sound kind of expensive, but to not to have to deal with anything while you're out there, they pick you up. They're super cool guys in a nice van. They take you out there, and then as soon as you're ready to come out of the field, they pick you up and they take you back. Again, it's a over 10-hour trip, more like 12 hours, so you can sleep and do whatever. It's a very comfortable service, but that's 100% up to you how you get there, whether you want to do the U-Haul, rent a vehicle, or do the Arctic Compass. Again, that does not go to Arrowhead Outfitters. So other than this, the only other expense that you could possibly have if you weren't able to make weight or you just didn't want to have to worry about weight. So they do have a 650-pound weight limit, and that includes personal body weight, all the gear, your camping equipment, personal items, food, etc. That's 20 pounds right there. And if you do not make that weight, and when you show up to their base camp, they will weigh you and they weigh your gear. And if you do not make weight, you have two options. First option, start dumping gear until you make the weight. Second option, they allow you to pay for $600 and then you can get an extra flight. And that is what we chose to do. Even though we do backcountry hunts all the time, all we wear is Kuiu and the lightest top quality stuff you can get. We could have made it for sure. But what I'm saying is that was the best $300 I ever spent because we split it between us, $300 each, and it saved our butts out there. It was way less miserable than it was going to be camping in our little Seek Outside tent. So if you are into the backcountry scene and you want to have the backcountry experience, I wouldn't pay for this. I would just make sure that you're ready to deal with everything that we're about to discuss in this review. If you're wanting to have a good time, to be relaxed, to stay dry, be able to pack amenities that you wouldn't be able to otherwise, this is going to be a $600 flight that you want to spend. And again, I was super skeptical. We actually went all the way until like 2 weeks left saying we weren't going to get it. And then we just decided that we're getting a little too old to be, laying in the swamp. And so that is what we chose to do was $600. We got a flight. But again, 100% optional. You don't have to do that unless you want to. Next, we have the day we flew out. We flew out of St. Louis, Missouri, and flew into Fairbanks. We had 3 bags, our Arctic, and then 2 Taku 9000s from Kuyu. That held all our gear right there. And then we also had some personal items. Basically, your carry-on and a day pack. Arrowhead does have a storage unit that you can put all your stuff in that you don't want to take with you to the field. So even if you don't pay for that flight, you can bring more stuff with you, for the before and after if you want, and then store it in their gear locker. So it's really nice that they have that. We flew Alaska Air, and again, we went into the Fairbanks Airport. So we got on our Arctic Compass that we discussed earlier and headed out on the Dalton Highway. So this was the next day. We stayed in a hotel called the Golden Inn. Very nice hotel for what we were doing and very hunter friendly. It would be one we suggest. Along the way on the Dalton Highway, we were being shuttled. Obviously, you get to make all the cool stops and take all the pictures that you would like. We hit the Arctic Circle, got another picture. So there aren't many gas stations on the way, so you want to make sure that you hit Cold Foot before you push out. Get that one final meal because after you pass that, there's not a whole lot out there. If you are traveling yourself, make sure you figure out your fuel situation. And again, a lot of that is on the Arrowhead website if you want information on that. The drive out there is really cool, and you're going to get to see a whole lot of wildlife. So every once in a while, when we had to pee or whatever, we would glass. We saw muskox, we saw grizzly, caribou, obviously, and then probably a couple other things. We saw moose. So the drive out there, it isn't as boring as you would imagine for a 10-plus hour drive. So once you get to the actual place, you'll be greeted by the 2 gentlemen that are the owners, and then they basically stick you in this little hut, this little orange hut that you see here that is nothing more than a canopy. This was by far the most miserable night of our trip. I kind of wish that they would use better tents or better equipment for this. Mosquitoes get under that and they tear you apart. The wind is howling, and then the top was not perfectly waterproof, so we were getting dripped on all night. So if there's a con, it's going to be that first night. We were ready to just get into the field. But essentially, at least it's a spot that has some gravel. It's not a swamp. You can put all your stuff out, and then you're just prepared for the night. In the morning, when you wake up, you'll do a little debrief or a little brief of what is to come, and they'll sit you down. They're very professional on this. They give you all the information that you would need, go over your tags, serve you some hot coffee, and pretty much just get you ready for your hunt. Assuming that you can go out the next day, there were a bunch of weather delays to where people were getting backed up 2 days. We were lucky that we were able to get in the next day. We got in around noon when the fog broke, but that is completely up to weather, and that is why we say you need 10 days there because you could easily lose 2 days off your hunt, and then you're just going to be out of luck. But once it's your morning, you load up all your gear, and then you are shuttled down to where the planes are located. You'll hop on 1 or 2 planes. What you see in this picture is us putting on our wiggies. Those were crucial in our trip. We needed them every day, I would say, and especially getting off and on the plane. So then you take off, and it was for us about a 15-minute plane ride to our location. It's a super fun ride. The pilots are really nice and very professional. They give you a life jacket, and they make sure they get you all strapped in, and it's really a VIP service. This is a little look at the tundra and what you're flying over. If you've never been on the tundra, it is a miserable place to walk. So you'll get flown in one at a time if you're with 2 people, and then they'll just take you right up to your lake. And again, this is a lake that they choose. You have no insider saying as to where you're going. Where they put you is where you go. but you do get one move if you want. So let's say you were here for 2 days, you weren't seeing anything. You can just simply get on your Garmin and text them that you want to move. No questions asked. They'll come pick you up and they will take you to another lake. So that is very cool that they do offer that just in case you're not seeing anything. Once you load up, then you're going to have all your bags. Now, it's very important that you get some of these waterproofing bags because a lot big items do not fit on the plane. So you got to make sure that you're taking all of your stuff like we did out of our Taku huge 9,000 bags, and you're condensing everything into small individual dry bags because those are much easier just to toss on the plane. And then when you get out, you're just tossing them, to your partner or whoever, and you're able to carry those up to the spot that you pick. From this point, there is no more help from Arrowhead unless you're going to text them to move. You are on your own. You get to pick where you want to stay, where you want to camp, glass, everything from there is 100% self-guided. So this is the Cabela's tent that I was discussing. The reason we liked it so much was that it was super sturdy and dry. We didn't get wet while we were in the tent because our other option was going to be the Seek Outside Cimarron. And I am super glad we did not choose that or solely go with that as we were going in the beginning because as you'll see here soon, that thing got soaking wet. It was a literal swamp where we were at. We were in shin deep of water the entire time. And so once you get there, you're going to do your basic stuff. You're going to want to try to get water. Our water was very clean. It was tasted great. We had no problems. We used a gravity bag system as well, as the hand pump from MSR or Cadigan. They both worked great, and we had no problems with water, so I wouldn't worry about that so much as long as you filter it. This is the lake we were at. We chose the driest spot we could find, and again, we were just in the swamp the entire time. And then we built a base camp little spike shelter about half a mile away on a little glassing knob where we thought that we were going to be at most of the trip. So what we had heard up to this point was that you don't travel far from your lake. Everything's going to be coming in. You'll have an easy time. The herd is going to be moving through. Every time you get far away from your lake, then all of a sudden you look back at camp and there's caribou standing right there. That was not the case at all in our experience. We didn't see a herd. The whole time we were there, it was onesies and twosies. The first 2 days, we didn't say anything. And that's when we were using this little glassing knob to try to, stay put as we had read. By the third day, we said screw all that and we started hiking. And we put on 4 miles a day minimum, hiking all over and glassing as far as we possibly could. And even then, the animals were very sporadic. So what I would say is with that 97% that they have, it's of my opinion that they are judging you when you show up and then deciding what lake it is that you need to go to. Because had there was a guy there that was 350 pounds and he ended up getting a caribou. Had we stayed at our lake and not been able to hike miles per day, we would never have harvested a thing. We only saw 2 caribou the whole time we were there within a mile of our lake. So to get those rates, I'm guessing that they're judging you when you get there, judging your fitness level and the type of hunter you are, and then deciding what lake it is that you are going to go to. Because otherwise, I don't think there would be any way they could have 97%. But I don't blame them at all for doing that. It makes 100%, sense as an outfitter, to do that. I just wish our hunt would have been a little easier. I wish we would have saw, more caribou. But guys in camp that we talked to, they saw plenty. And again, it was guys that, had never been on a backcountry hunt in their life. So take that with a grain of salt. If you're not seeing anything, you might be at a lake that you're going to have to work for. But I can't complain because both of us harvested pretty decent caribou. So their system works. As far as the mosquitoes, this is highly brought up. It was miserable. It is everything that they say it is. We were covered in them. Anytime the weather reached above 40 degrees, I basically lived in my mosquito net. Hiking in that thing sucks. The 100% DEET is a must, but my God, it doesn't do much for long. I mean, maybe you got an hour if you're lucky when you smother yourself in that stuff to get much benefit out of it at all. So anytime that you're glassing, be prepared. If it hits 40 degrees or higher, you're going to be getting hit with mosquitoes. So a perfect day for us out there, was like a 30-degree day and freezing cold. So with the tent that I discussed, we were using the Cimarron. We used it as a gear tent, and as you can see, it is flooded. The whole thing was, a swamp. So with the tent that they gave us, we had no problems, never got wet. We were able to cook in it, and everything was great. So you're going to see a whole bunch of views while you're out there. I mean, it's a very beautiful place, but you also might get hit with snow. So one day it was 70 degrees, and then the next day it hit the 30s, and we were covered in snow. So be prepared for that. We did see quite a few good caribou towards the end. I would say maybe 4 to 5 shooter bulls is what we saw the whole time, and then we harvested 2 of them. Now, what I would say is we're letting things like this go. This to us was not a shooter bull, but if you look in their harvest pictures that they have whenever you show up there, a lot of people do take this. So it's up to you on what you would think is a shooter bull or what you wouldn't think is a shooter bull. But to us, we didn't, so we didn't put this in our count. So I would say 4 good bulls is what we went after, and we harvested 2 of them. This is one from the third day. It was still early, so we kind of let him go, even though it would have been a cakewalk, as you can see. But towards the end, 8th day, I ended up harvesting a bull that looked just like that. So don't take it for granted, I would say. If you see something that you would take on the last day and it's the first day, depending, you might want to take it. So next up is the boots question. Everybody is talking about the boots, and it's so argued in the group and online. Do you wear like Kenetrex with gaiters, or do you wear just wiggies, or do you wear Arctic mucks, or do you wear full-on hip waders or full-on waders? And what I'm gonna say is, from what we discussed with the guys that were coming out of camp, is it depends on where they put you. So where we are, as you can see, Kenetrex, Gators, they would not have survived a day where we were. I mean, we were in water the whole time. We had to cross. I mean, this is just a little swamp right outside of our lake. As you can see, there's another lake behind it. These lakes were everywhere. We were in a literal swamp. So you have to prepare for both. And luckily, because we got the extra gear flight, we actually packed Kenetrex with Gators and mucks and these wiggies. And what I'm going to say is I didn't spend a single day in our Kenetrex. If I'd have only brought that, would have been completely miserable. What I'm saying is if you see a guy that says Kenetrex are the way or mucks are the way, there is no way. It depends on where they're going to put you, because we were talking with guys that didn't get any, like, no moisture at all, and they were closer to the mountains. They said they were fine in Kenetrex the whole time and would have died in mucks. So take it for what it is. Where you're going to be or what you're going to wear is going to be based off where they put you. So after day 4, we harvested our first bull. This is Ray. It was about a 350-yard shot. Hit him on the first one, but wanted to just make sure, gave him a follow-up on the second one. And again, that was about 350 yards. I would say that is average, or maybe just a little further than average of what you would need to be able to shoot while you're out here. From our experience, the caribou didn't like when you were pursuing them. They'll push away, like if they feel like you're coming for them, and there's no catching them, period, once they decide they're going. But then if you're just, glassing there and they're not feeling any pressure, they will walk, literally right up to you. And we had that happen multiple times with cows and small bulls. So it's a pretty cool thing to watch. This was a good bull that we got, and we were super happy with that. So that was day 4. Packed it out. The pack out on the tundra wasn't fun. We were 3.5 miles deep on this one, so it did take us some time to get back. When you're walking on the tundra, it's less about the physical activity that it takes and more about just being careful, watching where you put your feet. Once we got back, we had tortillas, and we cooked up some of the tenderloin, and these are all benefits of having that extra gear flight. We were able to bring a ton of fuel, and it just made for the experience much better. So once again, we went to bed. You're going to get great views pretty much the whole time you were there, and then the next day it was absolutely miserable. The whole time we were there, from then on, was pretty much pouring rain. This is us using that Kafaru sheep tarp that we were using, basically just using it as a blanket every time we would get stuck out there. Became the usual, trying to clean out your gear. This is the inside of the tent, just trying to keep stuff dry. I mean, even with the lightest weight merino, it was still soaked whenever we woke up. As you can see, it's just super foggy and nasty the whole time from then on. We did see a lot of other animals while we were there. Well, I wouldn't say a lot. We saw a lot of moose, most likely because it was a swamp. And then those little ones that would come up to us. And then we also saw a ton of ptarmigan. So we had guys that we had spoke to that didn't see one ptarmigan, and we were able to kill ptarmigan with a shovel. So it's just going to depend on where you're at, I'm assuming. If you really want to try, I would bring some sort of little 22 or something if you wanted, or a slingshot, whatever it is, that you got. Because if you're where we were, you'll be able to kill 100 ptarmigan if you want it. So keep that in mind if small game hunting is something that you're into. Next, it came up to my shot. This was day 8. So this is why we say 10 days worth. Like, once the weather got nasty, we weren't seeing a whole lot of anything. It kind of cleared up on that 8th day. We had a 4-mile walk over to this new area that had a glassing knob that we knew was out there, but it was completely opposite way of where we had spent most of our time. And then there was a single bull out there about the same size as the first one we let go on day 3. Again, I'm happy with it. For a self-guided bull. And then the pack out was miserable. I mean, if you've walked in the tundra, you already know once you're way out there. But again, if they would have said you stay by your lake, we would have never seen a single one while we were out there. So after the harvest, we sent the text message that we wanted to be picked up the next day. We got a text back that you're not going to be able to get picked up for 2 days. There's 2 groups ahead of you. The weather has kept us in. Feeling kind of wore out and, depressed. What are we going to do for the next 2 days? As far as fishing goes, they say you can catch all these fish. There were no fish in our lake, and we didn't catch anything out of the small river where we were at. I didn't see a fish. If they were there, maybe we just suck and we couldn't catch them. But then we talked to other guys that said that they caught a ton of fish. So again, I would bring the pole, the collapsible rod or whatever it is that you got. Just know that this is highly dependent on the lake that they're going to drop you. So again, another day full of overcast the next morning, and then we get a text at, I think it was like 11, that they were going to be that there was a break in the weather and they were going to be there within the hour. So we had to rip down our whole tent, scrambling to get everything put away. As the first plane came up, we were, shoving all of our stuff basically just in the plane to try to get out of there. And then we made it back where Arctic Circle was waiting, and then they took us all the way back to Fairbanks, drove through the night, and then we were on the plane the next morning. So what we did was we packaged up our horns, and before we left on the plane, we took it to Alaska Cargo, and we actually had it shipped to a wildlife gallery, which is a taxidermist / tannery that is in Anchorage, and then they are going to ship it to our taxidermist once they finish tanning the hide. So it's a pretty cool system, but there's a bunch of different ways that you'll be able to get your stuff home. And again, probably the group is the best way for you to figure it out as far as that goes. So overall on this trip, we were super satisfied. The staff is more than professional. There wasn't one thing that we could say negatively about them and their willingness to help. Misty is amazing. The communication is top notch. If there was a con, it would be that, you're not, as far as our experience. Now this is hunting. It's gonna change year to year, but in our experience, we weren't hunting any sort of herd. The animals were few and far between. I did have to put in the work in order to make it happen, and we thought, this was going to be more of, lay eyes on 30 bulls before you decide on picking one, and when we only saw really 4 shooters in total. So the quantity of the animal, maybe if it was rated out of 10, I would give it a 5. The quality of the animal, we did see one giant bull that we just couldn't get to. He was way far out, but it was a big one. So I'll put that at maybe a 7. The rest of them are pretty average, I would say. But again, for a do-it-yourself, fly-in type style hunt, I think it's more than fair for the price that they are asking. And again, you're getting a great service with how well they do with their communication and their professionalism. They have a great setup there, and I don't think you'll ever be, unhappy with the experience, because I have a feeling that they gauge it again based off the type of hunter that you are and try to make it tailored to the type of experience that you would want. So if you found this review helpful and you are interested in trying to win this hunt, you can go on our website, ilikegear.com, and you'll be able to see all of our webinars that we have listed. This one specifically is $55. There are 100 seats or tickets sold. So one out of the lucky winner will win out of 100 seats total. And again, the cost is only $55. And again, we'll have those up frequently, but you can also win gear here. So if you go to our webinars and you go down, and let's say that you wanted to get in on a Kuiu jacket, you could do that as well. You can click it. You'll see that the cost is $18. Right now the webinar is full just because it's not up right now, but there would be 20 seats, and then you're able to pick any one of these that you would want. So it's a cool way to learn a little bit about the item. We give a full detailed review just like you're hearing now, comparing them to themselves. So you learn a little bit, but you also get a chance to win. So somebody's going to win, that $280 jacket for $18. So that is what we do. If you guys have any questions or comments at all, please post them in the description or the comments in the video, and I will post up the helpful links in the description so that way you guys can find us if you have any other questions or comments to add. So I hope you guys have an outstanding rest of your day, and hopefully we will see you on the next one.